All right. Philip here from Toon Tactics TV, and this is our full pre-match analysis for the derby tomorrow between Sunderland versus Newcastle United at the Stadium of Light. This is obviously for the FA Cup third round game. This is an incredible tie, full of history, full of tension, full of just the ultimate, or one of the ultimate rivalries here in within the English football world and everything that's happening. So let's get right into it. So just before we get into the tactics bit, let's get into the wider context. Newcastle and Sunderland. What is it? What's the record between them going head to head? Incredibly, both teams have won 53 games against the other. 53 games to Newcastle, 53 games to Sunderland, and have drawn 49 games. So this is ultimately, in an incredible way, almost like a decider, at least for now, in this current state of things, in terms of who's going to have the final bragging rights going into this game. Now, before I go into Newcastle, we're going to speak a little bit about Sunderland. And obviously, I didn't know too much about the current Sunderland team. Obviously, they've been in the Championship and the league below us for a little while, but obviously doing the more without knowing too much about some of what's happening with their team. Before I go into the individual players, of which two I'll highlight. Obviously, Sunderland are sixth in the Championship, doing relatively well. FOTMOB rating has them as the fourth best team in that Championship league. So they're playing a little bit below the standard that FOTMOB rate them. And they don't score too many goals, 1.4 per game, which puts them 12th in the Championship. They don't concede much either. They're about fourth. The 1.1 per game puts them fourth, which is not bad at all. They keep possessions pretty well. They're the third highest in the Championship for that. They're the fifth highest in terms of goals expected, and the seventh in terms of clean sheets. The interesting parts about Sunderland as well is that they are one of the highest teams, the second highest team in terms of touches in the opposition box. So they spend a lot of time in the opposition box. So there's a lot to say about Sunderland in terms of their average possession. So they sound like they're a team that keep the ball well, can move it into the opposition box, probably lack a little bit of clinical edge. But because they seem to have a relatively tight defense, this has helped them propel them going forwards, in getting them into the sixth place, and they probably got another gear to go. So Sunderland are doing relatively pretty well. Obviously, Michael Beale's their manager, and many believe that he's the brain behind. He first assisted. First I heard of him was when he was assistant to Steven Gerrard at Rangers, and many believe him to be the brain behind Rangers' success at the time. So obviously, going into this game, the context behind it, unfortunately, the Sunderland owners have messed things up a little bit in terms of rearranging one of or trying to rearrange one of their food halls, one of their restaurant bits within the stadium, and trying to refurbish it into a Newcastle fan place. And this obviously caused a lot of uproar on social media, and the owner, Mr. Dreyfus, had to recant and stop that work. So obviously that doesn't help them in terms of going into the match. Eddie Howe obviously saw his press conference as well. He looks cool, calm, collected, understands the magnitude and the gravity of the game, and he says the team's ready to go. He's ready to go. Nothing, no excuses around rest and any of that business. They're ready to go. The players I want to highlight for Sunderland are Mr. Jack Clark, who's seen more as one of their Premier League standard players. He plays he's an inverted wing. He plays on the left, goes on his right. I've only seen a few highlights of him, but he looks very, very impressive. Very good on the ball. Good at obviously doing what a good inverted winger does, stepping into, going in from the left into the right, can pass, can shoot, can dribble, carries the ball really well. Scored 12 goals for them this season. Seems to be the real linchpin of this team. So Newcastle have to be aware of that. And the other is obviously Mr. Job Bellingham, the brother of Jude Bellingham. Again, I haven't seen him much this season, but again, seeing his highlights, it's incredible how his profile and what he is so similar to his brother. Again, similar to his brother though, carries the ball well, got strength. He's got someone. It looks like he's got some intelligence as well, and he plays what looks like as a number 10 role for Sunderland, and you can see why he does that. I wouldn't mind either of them, Mr. Jack Clark or Mr. Bellingham, for Newcastle actually, and we'll just move Gordon onto the right as well. So they've got some really good players that Newcastle have to be aware of going forward. So Newcastle United coming in has been highlighted by the media numerous times. 8 losses in all competitions currently, flagging in the Premier League down to 9th position, 1 point above Chelsea. There's a lot of pressure. What does this mean for Eddie Howe should he lose? Well, I'm going to look at it as what does it mean for Eddie Howe should he win and win comfortably and convincingly? It should really, in my view, this would really propel, be a springboard for the team going forward, especially going into the Man City and Aston Villa games. And I think that January is a real recovery period for the team, an opportunity for up to at least 3 players, Harvey Barnes, Joe Willock, and I forget the third, Elliot Anderson, to come back in. So there's a lot of time to recover, but I'm not thinking too much ahead. So I've put up SofaScore. Obviously, you guys can see what the predicted lineup is for Newcastle United and for Sunderland. In terms of the team, I generally agree with this lineup. I think that this lineup will probably be the one that Eddie Howe will go with. Obviously, Livramento on the right, Dan Burn on the left, and Fabian Schär and Sven Botman being our centre backs. Martin Dubravka, obviously the keeper. Bruno, Sean Longstaff, Joe Linton making up our midfield, and our strike force being Miguel Alexander and Anthony Gordon. However, I do wonder if Eddie Howe may decide to put play Lewis Miley instead of Sean Longstaff. I think he's been playing better than Sean Longstaff recently. Always a great decision maker, and probably match him up against Joe Bellingham as well. I think Bruno needs a lot of protection. Jack Clark, Joe Bellingham, we don't want them to run into our midfield. Everyone is beginning to see some of our vulnerabilities in our midfield at the moment, which is something that I'll never see here. Obviously, in terms of people are able to resist our press, us going forward, we've left a gap in between our midfield and defence. And if you put in 2-3 players, if you're able to resist our press and stop any attack, as long as you can play good transition football, you can really hurt Newcastle. So we need legs, we need our intensity back. So Joe Linton needs to protect Bruno, Sean or Louis Miley to protect Bruno as they go forward is really important. But I think I would prefer Miley instead of Sean Longstaff, and I possibly prefer Lewis Hall instead of Miguel Almiron, and put Anthony Gordon on the right and Lewis Hall on the left. I think it would be a great game for those guys to come into. Obviously, Alexander Isak has been one shot, one kill. Mr. Isak has been finishing his chances, has been hitting form, which is good. Obviously, having Sven Botman and Fabian Schär has been good. And I know that the Liverpool game the performance wasn't what people liked, but there were glimpses of Newcastle getting the ball from the defense into the attack, into the midfield, into attack really quickly. And I think if we can do that against Sunderland, we can really hurt them, especially with the pace of Isak and Gordon going the other way. I back Newcastle to win this game 4-0. I think we can dominate. I think we can be cool, calm, and collected in the midst of the tension and the rivalry. I think we can win this game comfortably, so long as we control it and we get our intensity back. I believe we can win this game 4-0. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, please do share, like, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, take care and God bless.